All right, good morning. You're listening to Northeast Radio SD. We've got a special guest with us today. We've got Representative Josephine Garcia with District 5. Good morning. Thank you for joining us today.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Yes, we appreciate that. You've been in some recent meetings, which we're going to talk about, and we were talking a little off air, which I appreciate the education, because I think that's a big part of what we kind of need to do with a lot of what you guys are doing out there, and make sure people understand how some of that stuff even works. So could we talk a little bit about, there's two committees that you're in, and we talked about like an oversight versus like an interim. Maybe could we start with something like that? Does that sound like a good little basis maybe?
I think it's a great starting point. I think the public needs to know that you have an interim committee which has a lot more regulation and can do a lot more at legislative level, and then you have an oversight committee, which is what the medicinal marijuana is, an oversight committee. So what are the distinguishing differences? If people could look at the codified law 7.6.1, that is where you actually have what you can and cannot do, a bill or a joint resolution that can be discussed during these meetings. But in the Medicinal Marijuana Oversight Committee, I'll just read it. It does not fall under the 4 subdivisions in this section, and therefore may not introduce legislation. So I hope that answers your question. Mm-hmm. So we can discuss, we can conceptualize, we can bring forward thoughts of what we've gathered in the 3 meetings that we've had, but by no means can we as a committee bring legislation. Mm-hmm. That has to be done by the legislation during the next session.
Mm-hmm. And so the medical marijuana, the oversight committee, is that the one you most recently were meeting in then?
Right, that was the one that we just met November 4th, had the 3rd meeting, yes.
Okay, and so when you get into a meeting like that where it's more of motions and recommendations, how does the meeting kind of start out and get to the end of something like that?
Well, if I could just pretty much speak to mm-hmm. the people listening to understand, this Medicinal Marijuana Oversight Committee, MMOC committee, we were all new committee members. So the process I think we need to decide is, how do people get on this committee? And that is, you fill out a form and the executive board decides, which they did, who would be on the committee. Then, as the committee comes together at the first meeting, which was back on October 19th, it is your peers, people on the committee, that will actually vote on who becomes chair, co-chair, and go forward from there. So that's how that whole committee was developed. So going forward, what were our duties of this committee? This oversight committee, I'll just bore your audience a minute, but there are 34, and it's all about law, right? So 3420G-93 has the duties of the 7 duties that the oversight committee was to achieve. And that was our goal, our mission for these meetings. Should I read those? Or?
Sure.
Okay,
yeah.
So the first one is, the Oversight Committee shall meet at least 2 times per year for the purpose of evaluating and making recommendations to the legislature and the department regarding, 1, the ability of qualifying patients in all areas of the state to obtain timely access to high-quality medical cannabis. Number 2, the effectiveness of the dispensaries and cultivation facilities individually and together in serving the needs of qualifying patients, including the provision of educational and support services by dispensaries, the reasonableness of their prices, whether they are generating any complaints or security problems, and the sufficiency of the number operating to serve the state's registered qualifying patients. Number 3 was the effectiveness of the cannabis testing facilities, including whether a sufficient number are operating. Number 4, the sufficiency of the regulatory and security safeguards contained in this chapter and adopted by the department to ensure that access to and use of cannabis cultivated is provided only to cardholders. Number 5, any recommended additions or revisions to the department regulation or this chapter, including recommendations relating to security, safe handling, labeling, and nomenclature. Number 6, any research studies regarding health effects of medical cannabis for patients. And number 7, any medical and clinical aspects of the medical cannabis program. The Oversight Committee shall ensure that it seeks relevant input from qualifying patients, designated caregivers, pharmacists, school boards and administrators, parents, municipal representatives, state agencies, including the Department of Health, the South Dakota Division of Criminal Investigation, and the Department of Public Safety and medical cannabis establishments. So that was what the guidelines were at the first meeting that we were to strictly follow.
Mm-hmm. How do you think that went?
I know that I stuck to it the
Yeah.
best I could as the chair. It was all new, all the committee members are new, we were all new legislators.
Mhm.
So when we got to that first meeting, we did not really have an idea because there was no manual as far as how does this run, right? We were able to access the minutes from the previous meetings. Remember, this program started for the public to know in 2020. A lot of taxpayers' money went into this program. And those meetings, we had the access to review those minutes of those meetings and come in at that first meeting to have an idea of what was done and what was not done. And then I think we did the best we could. I don't believe, in hindsight, as a committee, we understood the depths of what we were entering into.
And so now that you've kind of gone through the thick of it, if you will, there's some motions that the motions get approved, but just to be recommended to legislation. Would that be the right way to say that?
I think, well, the motions are, so we gather the information and we formulate these ideas of where we should see some benefit in these 7 items that we could possibly be doing a better job. So the motions are to give an idea to the public, to the people present, to the committee. This is what we see to be areas of need. We need to strengthen these areas. So we make a motion and then it's up to those listening and legislators to take it from there and go forward. Doesn't mean that any of those motions will go anywhere. They might just only stay within that oversight committee, but it is that we had the discussion and we do know we need to improve. As in everything, we have to go back, relook, and checks and balances need to be in place, safeguards, especially for our youth.
Mm-hmm. And are you one of the only ones with like a medical background that was on the committee?
No, Representative Andera has a laboratory background, a research background. So I would say no, I'm not. And we also have on the committee public, so we have counselors, we have public representation, and we have the sheriffs. So we have quite a very good mix.
Mm-hmm. And so now, are there any concerns that you have after everything that you still would like to address or maybe need to look into further?
I think that I've been under a lot of scrutiny as the chair because I am very straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
So the concerns I have are that information is misconstrued and that people don't have the facts. I think we must always remember that when this was put on the ballot, yes, people voted 70%, 70-30 medicinal marijuana. And that is here to stay. And I believe in medicinal marijuana. I think the concerns I have is that when you're in this committee, and what we didn't realize was it stems out and it's into the smoke shops, into outside businesses, but we are not privy to speak to that in this committee. And that kind of kept steaming into the committee, causing a lot of problems. So there has to be a distinction made about medicinal marijuana, medical marijuana cards, the responsibility of the Department of Health, the responsibility of the Department of Social Services, where the taxpayers' dollars are going, who's benefiting from it, and the industry, right? That has to be the dispensaries and the actual testing. So I have great concerns, yes. I know that the dispensaries test everything now. We've been informed in these meetings. It's impeccable. There are certain areas that should be improved. Water, R&R, we definitely need to be doing more as far as inspections. That I think can happen. I think we also have to decide what will we do with the industry, or what quote unquote people call the black market, or the smoke shops. I think that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother day. As far as the Medicinal Marijuana Oversight Committee, I think this committee did an outstanding job, and we had a lot of confrontation, and I think we handled it well. I think I was extremely lenient. If you had listened to the first meetings, we really didn't know at the first meeting what we were getting into, but we had a lot of public testimony, and the industry were able to speak quite fluidly. The second meeting was extremely educational, very scientific, from the law point, from the scientific point. We had board superintendent of Sioux Falls. We had great speakers. That the public needed to hear because they did not hear it. They've never heard it, according to the previous minutes. And that was what this committee, the backbone of this whole, these 7 points I just read, we must stick to the rules. We have a process. There are rules in place for a reason, and we must stick to that process. That was achieved. Was it received well by the industry or others? Perhaps not, because my job is to put the facts out there and let the people decide. It is up to the people to decide on how they go forward. So we achieved that. This last meeting, we normally don't have 3 meetings, right? There's only been 2. It was on my behalf, I believe I pushed for that very hard because we just didn't have enough time. It's an oversight committee, but there were so many loose ends. So after 4 emails, quite a few conversations with leadership, and that's multiple members, we were approved this third meeting on November 4th. That was a little bit shocking, this last meeting on the 4th, because we tried to be civil and be respectful of each other, and I think that was a concern.
And what was, when you went into the meeting, what was your overall goal for the loose ends that you wanted to tie up, if you will, to more like recommendations?
So the final meeting is what you're saying?
Yeah.
The final meeting was really just to summarize what we had done the first 2 meetings and the lab. We really wanted to have the lab there, which was done well by Jared and Wendy Young. They both did a great job on how the actual product is tested, what we're testing for, and the safety of it. I think that was fantastic. What I didn't realize was there were a lot of more public comments, so we had to adjust to that. So I think that answers part of your question. What did I want to achieve? I really wanted to work with the industry and the public as to how could we make it better. That's the whole thing. We must work together. But unfortunately, that concept's not well received. At the first meeting, if people listened to the first meeting, the industry really pointed out that there was an issue with the smoke shops. That the spine of the problem was not medicinal marijuana, because they were doing their part, which they have been doing their part, but the smoke shop. So when we addressed the smoke shops, then the industry got disappointed that we addressed the smoke shop. So we tried to work with them. I just think that transparency has to be had, whether we like to hear it or not. And it's people, it's the safety of our public. That's the job of us, is to make sure that people are safe and what they're purchasing is safe and it's regulated correctly and we don't have any deaths, mortality. Also, the big component was the law enforcement. Law enforcement people, we have this PDNP, which is a registry where we do for drugs. In 2024, the Department of Health was to put together this PDMP, and people with marijuana, medicinal marijuana cards, were to be on this service. We were told at the last meeting that the AG is the one responsible. It's not, it's the pharmacy department. So we were getting misinformation, which will have to be further investigated. But we have to hold people accountable. As citizens, taxpayers, we put them in office to run our state safely, and we need to hold them accountable. So I think my goal was really to hear all sides and to find out, okay, where is the problem? Is it just not understanding? Is it misinterpretation of what should be done in the statute? A lot of people, including myself, you have to learn the statute. It's not something you can speak like we do today, right? You have to really look into it, understand it, and define it. That's new to a lot of us, but we would hope that there would be people in leadership that would guide us to better understand the statute and the law and such forth. So I don't want to, I hope I answered your question there.
Yeah, no. Okay, do you have anything else that you want to say on the medical marijuana? Otherwise, I think the EMS too, we should talk on that too. But
I just would say to those out there listening, it's not a question of whether medicinal marijuana it's already been decided on. It's here to stay. The issue is we have a problem with medicinal marijuana cards. We have a problem with law enforcement not being able to do their job to protect the safety of the public. And we have a problem with access, and that we also need education. We just do not do a great job in educating what is going on, and that can be from marijuana itself or to exactly what our roles are. So I think education has to be improved upon. Safety and education. So that's all I'll say.
Yeah, very good. And so when you talk now, move into the Emergency Medical Services Interim Committee, when you do make motions, it's still a motion and these can be made into?
Legislation, yeah,
Okay.
that can be a different, it's a different, totally a different form of a meeting, yes.
Okay, and so have you had a meeting with this? These have the same kind of rules, similar rules that you?
So I'm not chair of that one, so that was Senator Reed and Representative Jen Hunt, so they are the ones that run that meeting. I was on the committee. I think there were 2 meetings for that, and yes, they had, at the final meeting, there was points that were made that could be, brought into legislation. Remember, we all have to bring these to the executive board on November 19th. We have to summarize what we've done in these committees and report back to leadership as to what we did during this time. We have held accountable for our meetings, yes.
Okay. Is that like a special session where everybody, or it's just kind of a?
The chairs, I believe it's the chairs, possibly the co-chairs that present what has happened, a summary of what we've done, yeah.
So with you being in the medical field, was there anything that stuck out to you in the meetings or anything that you've been pushing for? I know rural healthcare is something that, seems to be in the conversation a lot lately, but.
So for the EMS?
Yeah.
Okay, I am concerned about the EMS. I don't know if the public understands that the EMS, we don't have enough people to serve the population. Some access is just not available under an hour, and that's very detrimental, especially if someone's having a heart attack, you don't have that time. So we really need to understand what is happening with the EMS system in our all surrounding, especially here in our surrounding areas. There are several districts that have great EMS and that are funded, but there is not enough funding for these EMS providers. A lot of them are volunteers. What did come out of the meeting is that nurses will be allowed to ride on the EMS and assist without being held accountable. I think that meeting was very well run as well, but I think the public needs to understand this is a crisis throughout all of our states, not just South Dakota. And we need more people to step up and do their duty and provide. But if you're not getting paid, why would you do it? If you're not getting respected, why would you do it? So you have to understand that everyone wants to help somebody, but not to be held liable.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a big thing that came out of that meeting. They don't have the funds. We need to come up with the funds somehow to support these areas.
Yeah, and then at the same time, they're looking at trying to cut some things in other places too. So that's got to be a difficult balance when you're when you go into these situations and you're thinking, where can we come up with that? Are there different grants sometimes that you can look at, or?
There are grants. I think though it's, in my opinion, the local control should always be maintained. The community should be able to decide. Once you start going up to the federal level, you're gonna owe. In the end, you owe. Nothing's for free. We all know that. So I think the communities have to come together and devise a plan. So that whether that be the county commissioners, whether that be the mayor, I don't know, but it has to be at the local control. They have to have the conversation. These smaller surrounding rural areas. I mean, I said at the meeting, you can drive through Dolan, and if you're in a ditch, you better hope that you have something there in your car. And that's just one area, right? Because I drive to Pier. It's kind of scary if you're having a bad day or something happens to you. You're going to be waiting a long time before someone comes around. I don't know if people really understand that. Our state does not fall into like Minnesota. We were compared to Minnesota. That's a big city. It's totally different than what we have. South Dakota is so vast, and you could go hundreds of miles before you have any access to anything. So I think that is what we cannot fall into a category. It's unique in its own self, and that's how it has to be looked at. Either we decide on, no one wants to tax, right? We're getting taxed out of our homes, but I believe there is funding that we can find.
Mm-hmm. Responsible funding?
Responsible funding, I would say, and how that could be. One idea I had and I'll just put it out there, was if there is legislation, I think for these smoke shops, they should be licensed like we do tobacco and alcohol. And they should be tested like we do everything else. And those fines and fees should go back to the communities, and that might be where we can help the EMS and things like that. I do think that should happen, something to that level. Whether it comes out or not, I don't know. It's just an idea, but we have to find the finances to support the people. You would think we pay enough taxes, we'd have EMS. Like, people think, that's one thing I do want to make a distinction, and I myself learned this during the EMS committee. So I have several clinics. If I call 911 and they come to the clinic to pick somebody up, it's at the cost of the patient. I was under the impression that we paid for that was paid in either their insurance or the facility. That's not the case. So if it's $1,250 that a patient is paying to be transferred, and they can only go to this one facility, why couldn't we transfer them to another facility where they wanted to go? So it's a matter of choice. It's a matter of their money. So that's one thing to look at, is exactly how all that works. I think the public does not know that when you pick up the phone to call 911, that's a cost. So if someone falls, that's a cost. If someone is locked in a room and they call 911, that's a cost. And I think we could triage that better. Those calls should be triaged into a different area, and then the emergencies could just be focused on. I also think healthcare has taken such a huge hit. The hospitals are going to have to help somehow in the transfer of these patients. I just don't know how. We have to have accountability. Because my point was, well, if a hospital, and I've talked to the gentleman, Tim Reeves, about this in Sadaho, if the hospital gets the patient, so let's just say someone has a heart attack and I transfer that patient to the hospital, the patient's already paying for the ambulance service, so they get into the hospital and then they're admitted, they get procedures, they go to rehab, whatever it might be. I just thought that somehow the EMS was rewarded. I'm not saying a stalk law or that they were getting money or anything. I'm just saying I really thought they worked together. And that's not what happens. They maybe the EMS, maybe they get a free lunch. That's what I was told by, I just couldn't believe it, because, I mean, that's a life. So, and that's time, and the EMS saved the life. So I just think recognition needs to be, we do not give enough recognition to the EMS.
Yeah, absolutely.
And to their services they provide. And I think we miss that in the picture. So I would hope that we do more fundraising as a community and get them what they need, the right equipment. The average EMS person is 52 years of age. We have people that are on the EMS service that are in their 70s. And I'm God bless them, but you know, it's a lot of stress. They see catastrophes. So I just don't think it's in the best of the health of the person. So you need younger people to get involved and to reward them. I also think that we need to teach it at the school level. I think that we have a great school here. We talk about it quite a bit, Lake Area Tech. We have the nursing program, medical assistant program, the EMS program, very well funded. I think we need to put those courses in there so that people, even at the high school, CPR, how to do an AED, you think that this is being done, it's only done in one class. It should be universal. We should be teaching that to everybody, because that would mean everyone could help. Several communities like Mulbridge, I was impressed. Mulbridge, South Dakota, has probably one of the best EMS organizational things, because the whole community gets involved and people are allowed at their facility, their jobs, to leave if there's an emergency. So they work together. I think that's a very important piece that we're missing, is we need to work together. And we need to give, whether it's volunteer or service, we need to do it.
Seems like a lot of thinking outside the box, maybe breaking some of the traditional thought processes and seeing, being a little creative on a lot of different things there too.
I think that's what I'll be known for, is thinking outside the box and being very direct. But we have one life. There's no dress rehearsal. We need to really be good citizens and do stewardship, but we need to also live life to the fullest and help one another.
Absolutely. Well, you very well spoken, but I want to make sure, is there anything else that you want to touch on?
I appreciate everything. I just think that people, please, I would just recommend that you listen to the broadcast. It's now live when we're doing these meetings. I think transparency is essential. There is so much going on right now, from the prison to all of the medicinal, two of the biggest things going on in the state right now, but a lot of taxpayers, I think, kindness. We just need to really listen and really understand what's being said and not attack one another. I think that's nothing gets accomplished that way. And call it a romantic side of the view. I'm just human. I'm here to do my job as the people of District 5 put me here, and I plan to do that well. Everyone knows that I will research and bring things to the forefront. They might not want to hear it, but I think that's our duty, to be aware and to inform people of the facts. And I just would hope that people will start to listen more and get more involved and engaged, and use the outlets you have. Like, this is a great thing here you have. Send in your questions and answers, whatever you would like. But I do think education is important. Facts, people aren't getting the facts. And there's such an issue of trust or lack of trust, whether it be in healthcare, which we're seeing now, or in just the legislation. I think that has to stop if we're going to advance as a society. So that's all I'd like to say, and I appreciate you having me. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. That is a perfect way to end it. We've got the session that'll begin January, right?
January 14th, I believe.
Okay.
I could be wrong, might be the 13th, but
And then
it's a long 30-some-odd days, I'll tell you that.
Right. Well, keep in touch with us on that. Maybe we can talk to you weekly or every other week or something, or whenever something pops up. It'd be great to have a local, touch, and then we can keep up on some of this stuff too. So.
Right, and we have the Lincoln Day dinner this Friday.
Yes.
So you have all the gubernatorial candidates there, so I think that's another thing. So everyone should be more informed.
Yes, absolutely. And we'll put the links for SDNet too, so that they can check out the meetings and stream the audio from that too, from any of the committee meetings, and we'll put the links too, so that they can check out the other ones too.
That'd be fantastic. Thank you very much.
Okay, perfect. Well, that is your District 5 Representative Josephine Garcia, and thank you again for joining us, and look forward to the next time we get to see you.